Hello everyone, and welcome to what is quite possibly the easiest Ouch Chimps guide of this update. No abilities, no micro, no Geraldo, and mostly consistent. You'll find very, very few RNG issues, and I'll point out where those are. We're just going to be abusing the OP combo of Bloon Solver and Elite Defender. It's actually a surprisingly strong combo. You'll see later. And Sauda is also our hero of choice. I'll get into that later, though. First, we have these starting placements, which are actually relatively easy. These guys just go as top right as possible here. Or, not these guys, but this guy. As top right as possible here. And this sub goes as bottom right as possible, but then moved up so that the range border just barely touches the edge of this rock right here. If it touches that rock, you should be good, and you should be able to beat round 6 with no issues. For round 7, get yourself a Dart Monkey. It's just a second one, just as bottom left as possible here. And this should beat round 7. On round 8, your sub will have to do a bit of seeking to catch stuff, but that's going to happen. That's normal. And then for round 9, get yourself a second sub right over here, just as bottom left as possible here. And you should be able to beat round 9 very easily. For round 10, just set your top left Dart Monkey to strong, and technically it is possible to lose on this round. But that will only happen if your positioning for one of these 4 towers, it kind of changes depending on the run, is very off. If they're in the right spots, you should be fine. The start should get the correct amount of snipes, and you should win. That will happen a lot, but that's consistent. And then, for round 12, get Sauda just as top left as possible here, just in this corner. The reason we go for Sauda is Sauda works very well early game, her mid game popping power is surprisingly decent, and late game she helps break down a lot of Moab layers just so Solver can clean them up and destroy the rest of it, which is actually a surprisingly decent synergy, especially for a map like Ouch. For round 14, get a sniper, just as top right as possible here, and set to strong. Yes, this positioning does matter, even though it is a sniper, because we will be upgrading it to a shrapnel sniper later on, so it does actually matter where it is. And then, for round 15, get yourself a second sniper, right over here just as low as possible, while making sure that the range border just barely touches this corner right here. And set this guy to strong as well, and yes, this spot does matter, as we'll be using it to line up a village spot, and he'll also become our elite defender later, and we want him in range of our buffs. For round 17, just get a ninja as left and as middle as possible here. The way you tell that it's as middle as possible is the range border going into both tracks just about equally. You could probably put it a very slight amount higher than what I did, but this should still be fine. Get Seeking Shuriken for 18, and then get Ninja Discipline for 20. Or, not for 20, for 19. My bad. And then Sharp Shurikens for 21. Ninja Seeking RNG seems like it might play a big factor here. It just doesn't end up being an issue at all. For 22, get Full Metal Jacket on this sniper specifically. And then, for 24, get Caltrops on your ninja. This actually does make a very, very slight element of RNG, but I'm not sure it's possible to lose because of this. The only round I see that being maybe even a factor is round 50, but you should be fine. Get the sniper to fast firing for 26. And then even faster firing for 27. For round 30, upgrade your bottom right sniper to a 021 shrapnel with fast firing and set it to first. And then you can get even faster firing mid 31 if you really want to, but you shouldn't have to. Also, that should almost never happen. That's the closest I've ever seen it get, and I've tested this early game close to 50 times, probably. Just with how many different iterations of this strategy I've tried. For 34, you just want to get a druid as top left as possible here, and upgrade it to Hard Thorns. You'll be able to afford Heart of Thunder mid-round, and we will get this, but we actually want to hold off on buying this until 36, just to prevent some RNG based on when the lightning attack actually goes out. It's a very weird thing, but just don't upgrade it to Thunder on 35. But do get Thunder after the round, and bonk, 36 is gone. Without a Thunder Druid, 36 is one of the hardest rounds in the early game on this map, but with it, it's a complete joke. For 38, we're going to be getting our lead sniper to a semi-auto, and then we'll get large caliber after the round. Since we're getting an elite defender later, might as well start building into it now, and this is what it does. Yeah, get large caliber for 39, and then for round 40, get Druid of the Storm. Our combo of semi-auto and the Storm Druid, pop the Moab, and boom, all of the insides are blown back. For 42, a very, very unconventional pick. Semi-auto on this guy as well. Double semi-auto gaming. This early game to mid game is very funny, and the reason we need to do this is so we can actually be able to build into our mid game setup, which will be a Plasma Robo Monkey. It is fairly difficult to save that much money, however, because first, we also have to buy a village, just as bottom right as possible here. That's the reason why we placed our sniper like this. Monkey Commerce on it, and then get an ice platform here. Just an Arctic Wind below it here, just a 030. And then, as bottom right as possible, while still being in discount range, get your super. And then just get super range for now. You can buy epic range mid-round if you'd like to, but you should be fine. For round 50, get epic range, and then also get plasma. We'll be going for a surprisingly late Robomonkey, but that's just kind of how we have to do it to make this mid-game consistent. Oh yeah, I said Ninja Caltrops RNG possibly being a thing on 50, but that was with an older version of this early game that I have since scrapped. For 51 here, just get a village, just as high and as middle as possible. It should affect your Super Monkey. If it doesn't, we're getting jungle drums anyway, so it will. And this round might look a little bit close, but 023 semi-auto is carrying super hard. '52 and 54 can look a bit sketchy, but that's better than round 50 being like half RNG. So, yeah, round 50 used to be very RNG with an old version of this early game. Also, remember, you can always use a Sauda ability if you'd like to, just to possibly make this early game to mid game transition a lot smoother, but you shouldn't have to. And also, I haven't seen it get that close on 54, where the Storm Druid had to snipe. I haven't seen that before, actually. For 56, we're not going to buy Robo quite yet because we need to get camo on our village here. You can get Robo mid-round if you'd like to, but you don't have to. Just get it for 57 though, and then set the top targeting to close and leave the bottom one on first. For 58, get bigger radius on your top village, and get a mermonkey right over here, kind of as bottom left as possible while still being in discount range. Kinda like that. And we're just going to upgrade this guy straight to a 400 Abyssal Warrior. And then we'll get 402 afterward, but we need to get 400 for 60. Get Echo Sense for 61, and then we're actually going to set this guy to strong because we want this guy to prioritize ceramics over like reds and stuff, which our Robo can already deal with. And that does actually make a difference on 63, which is very funny. For 63, set your semi-auto to first, just to prevent some possible RNG that can happen here. It's really stupid and weird. This round might look very, very close at times, and that is because of Robo crit RNG being a thing. It's really stupid, but if you get scared, feel free to use the Sauda ability. And this round will only ever get close because of Robo crit RNG. It's really, really stupid. It's the one of I think it's the only tower in the game where Ninja Kiwi left in the RNG. But for 64, get full auto rifle. And once you've gotten full auto, we can actually start going for our Bloon solver. Our mid-game trio here is insanely strong and will very easily carry into solver. So yeah, just get this glue gunner right over here, as low and as middle as possible. You could definitely do this like between rounds if you wanted to, but I'm not going to, just to speed things up a little bit. And just start getting it to a 420 Bloon liquefier. You should be able to afford liquefier on 69, and then get splatter on 70. Final quick things before we save up for solver. Get an alchemist right above your liquefier. Right up here. Upgrade it to a 301 Berserker Brew, and it should buff your liquefier. That's very important that it does. And then we're also just going to get primary training on our village. Also, set your solver to, your liquefier to strong. For the same reasons as this guy, we would rather it target ceramics than, like, blues. Which does actually make a difference on 78 specifically. If you'd like to make rounds 76 and 78 absolutely perfectly consistent, even though they already are 99% consistent, you can just use a sword charge on the ceramic waves. That shouldn't be like an issue. It's never going to be the first wave of 78 that looks close because your Storm Druid is carrying super hard here. It's going to be the second wave that can look a bit close at times. So I would highly recommend using a sword charge here, but you should be good. For 79 though, switch your full auto to strong, just so it prioritizes the BFBs. boom! With that we have forward solver, and once you have solver, switch it back to first, and then also set your full auto to first. Now that we have solver, the run is very, very easy and pretty safe. Now we're just going to go straight for Elite Defender, which we should afford on 84. Alright, we have Elite Defender here on 84. What Elite Defender does is, what it does in this setup at least, is it acts as some much needed single target damage because we don't have much at the moment, because we're using Solver. It helps break down BFBs and Moabs into ceramics that Solver can kill, and it'll also act as a very, very strong anti-DDT tower and RNG preventer, which you'll see later. For 85 though, get a heli pilot just as top right as possible here, in range of your, not as top right as possible, sorry, bottom right as possible, in range of your discount, and then upgrade it to a 023 Moab shove and lock it in place right here. This guy acts as a very, very strong RNG preventer, and just, it assists a lot with single target and just grouping things together. It's not really showcased well on 85, but on 87 it is very apparent that it is helping a lot. It gives us a lot more time to deal with that ZOMG, and it'll also stall out the bottom one so that we can deal with the top and bottom separately. That's pretty much what Shove will do this entire run. And then for 88, get yourself a second Mermonkey right over here, just as top left as possible. And it should be in discount range very comfortably. And we're going to upgrade this guy to a 204 Symphonic Resonance. Once you get Symphonic, set it to the middle here. Just as middle as possible here. The way you tell it's as middle as possible is it goes into each track about equally, which shouldn't be too hard to line up. For round 90, we're going to set our Elite Defender to strong, and we're going to keep it on strong until 93. The main reason we put Elite Defender on strong here is so that it focuses down these OMGs on 92, and we already have more than enough popping power to deal with the fortified Moabs. It's just the ZOMGs that are a struggle here. For 93, set your Elite Defender back to first, and then get a second Symphonic Resonance over here. Should be able to find a spot. Somewhere like here should work perfectly fine. Just here and as middle as possible. What's very important about this guy is that he is on land. You need him to be on land for this. I'll explain why afterward, but get Symphonic and set it to the middle right over here. Try to like overlap it with your top one if you can. Just see where they line up and try to move it to a similar spot. This should be good enough. And then get this guy to 204 as well. The reason why we want to put this guy on land is so that the range of him and our other Symphonic are very different. The reason why that's important is that that will allow us to have them desynced much more consistently than if they have very similar ranges. Figuring that out was probably the hardest thing about making this video. For 95, what we want to do is just get an embrittlement ice monkey right over here on this platform here. Ideally, you can place it in discount range, but if not, that should be okay. That'll be fine. And then we're also going to get an alk buff right up here for Sauda, just as bottom left as possible. 320. And finally, set your elite defender to strong. Our setup is strong enough so that even if your mermonkeys are a bit desynced on 95, we can still survive very easily. This is the round elite defender comes in clutch on. See here, my totems are, or my symphonics are quite desynced, but we should still be able to survive barely when one of them is down. And then for 96, we're just going to get an unstable concoction right up here, ideally in your Abyss Warrior range, but if not, that should be okay. Just a 130 set to strong. Concoction pairs very, very well with Solver, because it just does a lot of area damage to break things into ceramics. For 97 here, we're going to get a Moab press, just down here. (024) set to strong. This guy will mostly help out on 100. And we're going to move our Moab shove to the middle here. And also set your elite defender to first for this round. After that, move your shove back down to the bottom right here, in its normal spot, and then we can also get an overdrive just over here. This guy will be very, very good for around 100 damage, as we actually cannot go for final harmonic. It's very weird, but it is best to actually not go for harmonic, which is really weird. For 98, your totems should be almost completely desynced, and it'll just destroy the round. For 99, get yourself a second and third overdrive. Ideally, this top right guy is in, or this top guy is in discount range. It's fine if it's not. And then just get a third one down here. On 99, it is key that your mermonkey totems are very desynced. If not, you might have to use a Sauda ability. But then for round 100, just alk buff your top overdrive with a 320. Move your Moab shove down as low as possible here. And we're also just going to move our mermonkey totems to be able to catch the insides of the bad. This guy very, very low here. And this guy also pretty low. This should just barely be able to beat the bad. It will look very, 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 very close. I don't know how many more times I have to say very for that to, like, sink in. And boom, everything should get caught. And with that, you should now have your Ouch Chimps black border with probably the easiest strategy for this map on this update. Bloon Solver, Elite Defender, Sauda, and no final harmonic. I hope this guide helped you out in some way. Have a nice rest of your day, and goodbye.